All right, welcome into a new update for Gran Turismo. And we are in that VR mode once again. So, part of the newest update for this is a 1987 French make, the BX, as you can see there. Uh, so, we are back in the 80s. This was a lot of course, analog technology in this. We're going to end up seeing old school light covers on the front here. Later on, we'd be getting a lot more almost like a neon design, especially in the 80s, going into the 90s. You started to, well, the 80s had it, 90s got away from it a little bit, and then the 2000s started bringing back the neon design. But yeah, of course, again, 80s. So we have kind of a box frame on this, not so much of the bullet look like a lot of the more modern cars have. Let's get in underneath. So again, this is all faux scanned in as always. The guys over at Polyphy, they always do a very good job at getting all these cars faux scanned in. Who knows where they actually get all of. Okay. So one thing we're seeing right off the bat here, this is very kind of, that kind of 80s design going on is kind of the stripes going across. That was always, it's like a Dodge Viper or something has the race stripe going down the middle of it. There was a lot of the multicolored stripe stuff back in the 80s. Let's see here. So just standard regular hubcap, nothing fancy. It's basically just a dinner plate, if you will, on there. We'll keep going up through here. Something that you don't see a lot now because so that little lever right there, actually, I'm pretty sure that actually adjusts your side mirrors over here. That's the reason why there is like the scrunched up part on the side mirror. It's very old design on that. Very cool seeing that there. You don't see that at all nowadays. Normally, it's all just either iMac mirrors or it's like a push button on the inside. So again, cool little things that we end up seeing here. Let's see. So very pronounced door handle. Nowadays, it's very discreet door handles. Instead of it being chrome, it is kind of a blacked out, probably plastic to a rubber. Yep, the rubber piece in the window right there. You don't really see that on the outside anymore. You kind of see it on. It's way more of a smaller piece, but back in the 80s, it was very pronounced. What else we got here? So we do have some airflow going with this. I mean, this is just an everyday standard run-of-the-mill vehicle. This is something else that we don't really see on the modern cars anymore. The smaller windows that you can pop out a little bit for a little bit of airflow. So if you need a little bit extra uh, breathable air in the back, or sometimes you'd also have it in the front, of course. You pop the window out, and there you go. Uh, let's see. This is something that you see every once in a while. Not a lot of cars would do this, but this, again, this is a French make, so wheel covers. You would see this every once in a while with like probably the 50s, 60s cars, and then it started to phase out 70s and 80s. But it came back a little bit in the 80s, 90s, got rid of it again. Um, and again, just it's not so much chrome on this. It is way more of like that's probably actually metal, like a metal frame around the back end. Probably actually make this bumper a lot stronger. Let's see, one exhaust pipe coming out over here, going sideways instead of straight out. Interesting design there. Um, let's light that up. Yeah, so we got some lights on the license plates, some blinkers. Oh yeah, the old school red, white, and orange lights. Again, you don't really see this, like the frosted lights anymore. It is more of like a neon design on a lot of the newer cars. It's so it's Citroën. I don't know exactly how to say it. It's French, so there's probably you have the E with the dots up there. I forget how you say those letters, but um, Okay. This is another thing too. The lines on the back window, don't really see that anymore. It's usually just a kind of more of a blacked out back window just to keep the sun out. And it looks like, okay, so we have AM FM radio antenna right there. I'm not exactly sure what that little thing is there. It's definitely not a camera because this is way before cameras in vehicles. CB radio, maybe? No, that'd be a bigger antenna. I actually don't know what that one is for. Oh, maybe it's to. I was gonna say hang something on. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, so let's get on the inside of this. All right, so again, 1987. So we have bit of a digital clock. Everything is analog on your dashboard with lights and speedometers, which it does look a little bit kind of digitalized in this, but I guarantee you it because you can see the speedometer sticking out. So I guess yeah, I guess it'd be just a sticker, which would almost look digital in VR like this. But um, old school turn key right there. Wow, they actually have the key in there. The big thick key that you just slam right in the ignition right there and turn that over, and there you go. Again, a lot of cars nowadays they have a push button start, so we are back in the late 80s with this. Of course, your fan system, the old school, yeah, the old school shifter on there. So let's see here, we got the park and brake. Um, oh God, what is that? That's not four-wheel drive. Ooh, this is even testing my knowledge of it. What would that be? It's not a towing package. It is definitely not a towing car. I'm not quite sure if that would be. I'm not. I actually don't know on that one. Put your cigarette packs in there. Does this have a? Yes, cigarette layer right there on the left-hand side. The right-hand side. Not quite sure exactly. Again, some of this stuff is probably some like it's more French tech that they would have in their cars. So you have your cigarette layer down there, and then you actually have the cigarette layer up there. Um, let's see here with fans, standard. Of course, again, this is all just standard stuff. That's probably a light right there. What else we got? Um, I'm not quite sure. So we have the two lights there. I'm not quite sure what that little thing is there. Yep, speakers on the doors, of course. Now, so most of the cars that we check out in VR here, most of them have leather seats or they have like a vinyl seat or something like that. So this is the old couch cushion seats in here, and it's pretty much all the way through. So it's like the cushiony fabric material all the way through the car, even on the doors, on the side panels and everything. And of course, you even have carpeted on the floor, uh, which the old school, very 80s design on lines on lines. Um, some a little bit of leg room back there, not a ton, but you know, again, it is a four door, so easy to get in and out of. And the old school seat belts with just the very thin little click it in. Big, yep, the big orange buttons on that. If you've ever ridden on a school bus, you've probably come across something like that. Let's see here. Yeah, that's mostly. I was checking to see if maybe you could take out the back seat, but I don't think so because this car is very muchly it's affordable, just everyday driver. What else we got over here? So we do actually have some controls for, looks like, let's see here, windshield wipers, and I think that's a defrost over there, your high beams, of course. And I'm pretty sure, okay, so, all right. So 87, we actually have electric windows in this. So I have a crank window. Very nice. If you're younger and you don't know what a crank window is, there would be a handle over here that you got to spin around to make the window go down. A lot of kids nowadays don't even they've never seen that before. Um, outside of that, yeah, pretty standard ride. So let's get out on the road and run it. Okay, racing part of the video once again. Gonna take an everyday driver from back in the '87, and we're gonna go against some roadsters and such. So we are racing in France, since this car is made in France. And we are going against GT Sophie. Now, I have not upgraded. This is a stock car, of course, as always in every video. The only thing I've done is put better tires on it, so we can attack the corners a little bit. We're gonna see how far up the field we can get with this. We're in 13th starting out. We got 3 laps. A 56 speedster. That's cool seeing. So again, this will be just a very everyday driver. I'm pushing it all the way. There we go. So the acceleration is a little slow. A very cheap car versus a $20 million ride right there. The Alfa Romero. Being in this thing driving it is pretty spacious. I was seeing in the description on the car that this was made to be as spacious as possible, so you could fit whether it's groceries or just multiple people in it. The one thing this was not made for was a racetrack, but once it gets going, it seems like it's actually doing pretty decent. Speedster is hitting the corners a little too hard. You can see the back end. So that's actually one thing in all these Gran Turismo updates. They have been upgrading the Soapy AI on this. So if you're wondering why all the smiley faces are popping up and everything, that is the AI reacting. That's another $20 million ride right there. Okay, going downhill, we're getting actually a good amount of acceleration. This is actually handling pretty decent for a very low budget ride. One lap in. All right, first lap we learned how to drive it. Second lap we learned how to push it. So I've actually got pretty decent corner control with this. The acceleration is a little bit low, but if you throw a few parts in here, you can probably make this thing fly. This would be kind of a meme car, I would say, if you take it online or something, because I mean, this is really, it's a budget ride. Aside of that, though, if you could get this thing to handle the corners pretty deep, I mean, it already is handling the corners, but you get a little acceleration out of the corner. Maybe up the RPMs a little bit. We could actually probably turn this into a decent low budget racer. It's almost slightly throwing me off on if I have the wheel centered, because I'm so used to the steering wheel having, like, okay, so you can notice the steering wheel is only connected to the car via the bottom of it right there. So it's like I'm like subconsciously checking to see where the parts that would connect the steering wheel to the car on the top is, to give me a just out of the corner of my eye, just to give me a perspective on where the steering wheel's at. Of course, I can also feel it on the steering wheel too that I'm using, but All right, so a 70 Skyline 2000. Let's see if we can catch up with this one. So now that got the feel of the car, now we've gone from 13th to 7th. That's not bad. 6th place right here. All right, it's climbing the hills pretty decent. Again, put some parts in this thing. You could actually. We here in America would probably call this car something like a pretty rough, little shitbox. But in all honesty, for a French-made vehicle, not bad. I've driven worse on here. All right, we're gonna see if we can't keep the line, get some acceleration out of these corners, especially going uphill too in the corner. There we go. Not bad, not bad. Again, too, Gran Turismo, it's a simulation racer, so you actually have fully functional mirrors, so you can see where everybody's at around you. That's actually one of the more interesting things on, racing old school cars and modern day cars is just seeing how well the mirror system works on it, because they all have a different, depending on which country the cars come from and such, they all actually have different blind spots, different mirror setups. Some of the cars they have, full 360, like a Tesla, for instance, it has full 360 cameras on it. So on your dashboard, literally you can see there is no blind spot. You can see everywhere. Something like this that is more analog, you got 3 little mirrors that you're using. All right, 3rd lap, 6th place. I think we're probably not going to get exactly a win. We do have probably half this track left to go. Not quite sure what these other cars are up here. I'm thinking I can probably pass maybe 2 more cars. 2, maybe 3 if we hit a really good line here and I push it. There we go. Catching up to at least one of them. Yeah, we have a sharp turn, so we're gonna try and get around here. Another Skyline. Or was that the same? No, that was like 6th place, 7th place thing. This car is getting around the corner, or getting around the track. There's a lot of hills in this track. Again, we are racing in France because it's a French-made vehicle. That corner is very sharp. I think that will do it. Yep, that is the checkered flag. All right, 6th place. No upgrades, just tires. It's all right, I'd say, for the price point. It's a very, very cheap car. Part of the newest updates, DLC updates, free update, of course, for Gran Turismo 7, and this was VR.